Okay, can somebody explain to me what the hell happened? The series finale of Game of Thrones, a show that was one of the best shows in the history of television, and I don't put that lightly, okay? Game of Thrones was one of the greatest shows in history of television because they went all out with the budget, with the character development, with everything. And there's a reason why this show was on HBO because only HBO, only premium cable with no regulations, with violence and sex and all these other things. No, virtually unlimited budget when it comes to funding these shows because you have a lot of network television and basic cable stations that have decent shows, but you know that they're really lacking, right? But with premium cable, because they're making a lot of money off of the because people decide to pay $15 a month for these premium cable channels that only produce a handful of shows a year, they're able to go all out on the budget. Every episode truly felt like a feature film. And it's just, it makes me sad to see what happened to this show. And look, I don't mean to jump on a bandwagon. I know there's a huge bandwagon going on with hating Game of Thrones. But please use your brains for a second. Please think. This is one of the most beloved shows in television history, okay? Don't you think there's a reason why so many people are so upset about what happened to the show? People are just jumping on a hate bandwagon for no reason? No, it's because the show that they loved, the show that meant so much to them, and was truly one of the highest quality, best written TV shows ever produced, turns into this. This image that you see right in front of you is just season 8 in a nutshell. Completely awkward and unearned. Just look at Braun's expression. Look at look at Brienne and Podrick carrying King Bran. And then you have Tyrion in the background just, yeah. This picture alone just sums up the entirety of season 8. This picture makes no sense. And they didn't even try to provide context to it. Oh, Bran, he's the king because he's a cripple and what? What? That makes no sense. No sense at all. I don't know if George R.R. Martin, in A Dream of Spring, if this is the ending, Bran being king, and all of this happening. Tyrion's the Hand, and Braun's the Lord of Highgarden. Brienne being a Kingsguard makes a lot of sense. Okay, so I'm not going to complain about that. But Podrick worked so hard to be a glorified cart pusher. So much character development, and he went from a squire to a proven warrior. So you saw him training at Winterfell on the third episode or the second episode when Jaime arrived at Winterfell and all that happened. Podrick was really kicking some ass, man. He was training these weak men to become strong warriors to fight the White Walkers, and this is what he gets at the end. This is Podrick's reward for all he's done, pushing Bran around. I guess someone's got to do it, right? I'm still disappointed we didn't get to see him with a crown. It would have been even more ridiculous. The most ridiculous scene, I think, this entire episode, probably this entire season, was the one with Jon Snow kneeling down in front of Bran with a wheelchair. What the hell? What the hell happened to Game of Thrones? Oh my god. It's part funny and it's also really sad. I started off really sad and now I just can't control my laughter. I'm just like, I'm just trying to turn dog shit into, I don't know, into like a delicious chocolate dessert that was a bad analogy, but that's pretty much what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to make the best out of a crappy situation, and it can't get worse than this. Bran is the king. And the thing that made the least sense when they had them all coming together, this Prince of Dorne, we still don't know how he became the Prince of Dorne. What's going on now? The Benioff and wife. Benioff and wife. Wow, what a long night. Longer night than the actual long night. No, Benioff and Weiss. I'm sorry. I'm just so from this series finale. I'm just stumbling upon my words now. Dumb and Dumber, as they're called. They really don't like Dorne for some reason. Anytime Dorne's been involved, it's just been poorly written and just awful. Like even when Game of Thrones was still good, like around season 5, season 6, when it still wasn't like bad, you could kind of see it was kind of deteriorating a little bit. It was still good, but everything Dorne related was awful except for Oberyn Martell. But those scenes, he wasn't even in Dorne; he was in King's Landing the whole time. So yeah, this unnamed Prince of Dorne, Lord Gendry Baratheon. Oh, so yeah, I guess that but Arya decides to go west of Westeros. I guess we're gonna have that's gonna be a spin-off. No, probably not. I think after this, I can't imagine anyone giving a rat's ass about any spin-offs they could potentially do, prequel or otherwise. We already know what happened when you stray away from the source material. I can't imagine them actually making a good prequel. I know Benioff and Weiss are not going to be involved in this project, but wow. And I want to give a detailed review of this episode. Just go over everything that was wrong. It's just hard to process what just happened. That's just the thing. The episode came off the air like literally 4 minutes before I decided to record, so bear with me here. So, okay, let's just finish off with the King Bran thing, and then we'll get into the whole Jon Snow and Daenerys thing and try to process that, because that was a whole big thing. So, yeah, they decide that Bran's the king for whatever reason, because he fell off a tower and he became a cripple, and yeah, he's the king because he's a cripple. He very inspiring to so many people. There's no Iron Throne, so he doesn't have to climb stairs and sit in the throne. So I guess Bran being the king with no Iron Throne, they burned the Iron Throne just for him. Because imagine how awkward that scene would have been. Drogon burning the Iron Throne. The reason why they did that, imagine Podrick carrying Bran, lifting him up, sitting him on the throne. It would have been more embarrassing, more awkward than this entire thing. Tyrion's handed the king. Okay. Bronn is the Lord of Highgarden and the Master of Coin. What did he? Tyrion gave this whole passionate speech about this king. We need a king that actually cares about the people. Or, I don't even know what that speech was. That speech was just nothing but hot garbage that made no sense at all. Bran needs to be the king. He's in cuffs, mind you, while he's doing this. He's in chains. And he's the one that decides who the king is. Someone who betrayed his queen. But I guess people hate Daenerys, so I guess that's okay. And he gets to be handed the king. After... Tyrion doesn't have a very impressive resume. He was handed the king to Joffrey. He advised 2 insanely mad rulers. He obviously couldn't do reason with them. So why is Tyrion handed the king? Because Bran was like, well, I don't want to be king, so you have to be my hand. This is just crappy writing that makes no sense at all. And they try to convince you that it makes sense, but it does not make any sense. No sense at all. The only thing out of this that makes sense is Brienne being Kingsguard. And even that whole Brienne and Jaime thing, she was writing Jaime's book, Jaime's entry in the book, died protecting his queen. Imagine how much that hurt writing that, though. He pretty much dumped her They had this whole character redeeming arc, and then Cersei was just an awful person this whole time. And I guess they're trying to be like, well, Daenerys is so much worse, but you actually like make it where that Cersei actually gets a good death, like for everything that she did. People talk about how awful Daenerys is, but oh my god, what about what happened with burning the Great Sept of Baelor, forcing her son basically to commit suicide, killing a whole bunch of people. Everything that she did for all of those seasons was building up to something big happening with Cersei, only for Daenerys to switch on a dime from being this good, righteous person that actually cares about liberating people to just casually burning a city to the ground. And then Tyrion, in this episode, when he was taken away, he mentioned, to Jon Snow, because he convinced Jon Snow to kill Daenerys, and we'll get into that very shortly. But he convinced Jon Snow while he was doing that. He said, "Well, Daenerys, the writers tried so hard to convince you that Daenerys randomly deciding to burn a city down to the ground actually made any sense. Well, she killed the Dothraki. Yeah, because the Dothraki were a bunch of rapists and were gonna rape and kill her, so she burned them alive. Yeah, I think I'd burn people alive if they tried to rape and kill me. And the slavers of Yunkai, they were nailed to a cross and crucified." Or whatever the hell happened. I don't even remember. Or Astapor, whatever city it was. How many cities did she liberate in the East? And it's just, they were building Daenerys up for something huge, only for her to be stabbed by Jon Snow. So I guess it's time for us to move on to Jon Snow, because that's something worth talking about. Okay. So let's talk about Jon Snow's ending and the whole thing with Jon Snow. This picture. This is Jon Snow's ending. And I'm not mad that he's not king, by the way. Even though he kind of is king beyond the wall. Although the wall is destroyed. So it makes no sense for the wildlings to still be separate from the north when there literally is no more wall. But they decide to go north just because. they decide to go north of the wall. Well, there's no White Walkers. We might as well. And you have Jon Snow leading the wildlings. The 200... I don't even know how many wildlings are left. Most of them were killed in Hardhome. And then they fought the Boltons. And then a lot of them were killed then. Where did all these wildlings come from? All these little children and all these... Like, where the hell were they? It's like the Dothraki. They were all killed off by the White Walkers, but they just respawned like it's a goddamn video game. This is just downright pathetic. This is just awful. So I guess Tormund is handed the king beyond the wall. I can't even. What the hell? So Jon Snow's all about honor. And being righteous and doing the right thing and not deceiving people, and then he kisses Daenerys and stabs her in the fucking heart. Does that sound like something a Stark would do? Or something that Jon Snow... It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. She obviously had no interest in killing, because the whole thing with Tyrion convincing Jon to kill Daenerys was that Daenerys knew his true identity, and he was a threat to her rule, so she would have burned him alive or killed him. Dude, she obviously wanted him to rule along with her. She said, "Let's rule together." And it didn't seem like evil and sinister, like, "Luke, let's rule the galaxy together." That's really bad Darth Vader impression, but you know what I mean. In the Empire Strikes Back, I believe, I think that was the movie, where it was revealed that Darth Vader is Luke's father, and, let's rule the galaxy together. It wasn't anything like that. It was like, Jon, like, let's make a better world. She obviously had no intention of killing Jon and killing his sister, or his, I guess his cousin, or whatever the hell Sansa and Arya are. It's this is awful. And I look, I didn't have a huge problem with the long night. That's when people started turning on the show. I was like, okay, fine, long night. I understand why I was disappointing people, but I was satisfied by it. I love the horror aspects of it and all that. People were like, well, the Night King should have been the real threat. Dude, the name of the show was Game of Thrones. It's literally a Game of Thrones. Do you think Night King was going to really sit on the Iron Throne? Do you think he cared about sitting on a damn throne? Anyway, I had no problem with the long night. Episode 4, I was even okay with for most of the time. Lord Gendry Baratheon of Storm's End. That whole thing warmed my heart, and it seemed like we were really building towards something. And Daenerys was a little jealous, and you had the coffee cup and all that crap. I didn't even notice the coffee cup. I'm sure most people didn't, but you had the coffee cup and you had all that. And it seemed like we were really building something. Like the first 2 episodes and episode 4, it seemed like we were really building towards a satisfying conclusion. Lord Gendry of Storm's End, and they were really character development. Jaime and Brienne getting it on and doing all that, only for Jaime to leave Cersei and all that. Or Jaime to leave Brienne for Cersei, just for him and Cersei to have one of the worst, unsatisfying. And I understand not all deaths are satisfying, but just undeserved deaths. Jaime should have died in the long night. And Cersei, I don't know, but her dying in a whole thing of rubble, and her seeming like the innocent victim, after all the crap she's done for 8 seasons, just feels so unearned, and it just feels, I don't even know how to describe it. It's awful television. This whole season was awful. Even though I just praised half of the episodes, but towards the end of episode 4, I hated what they did with Rhaegal, and they're like, oh, Daenerys is gonna be the Mad Queen now because her dragon died, Missandei died, and all these people died. Okay, so Jon Snow stabs her because she burned the whole city down, and then the whole line, all of his lines were, she's McQueen, and I love her, and I'm gonna make out with her, and then stab her in the chest. And Grey Worm was going to execute... Oh, let's talk about Grey Worm. Let's talk about Grey Worm. This is the last thing we're going to talk about here because it's just so stupid. It's so goddamn stupid. So Grey Worm. The queen was killed. His queen was killed. You have thousands upon thousands of Unsullied and Dothraki pretty much controlling the city. And Grey Worm's like, nah. You guys can choose your own king. Tyrion can talk about who the king is, even though he betrayed the queen. And what happens to Jon Snow? Jon Snow killed my queen, but it's okay. Even though I had the power to do whatever the hell I wanted and just kill Jon Snow and just kill everyone on sight for betraying my queen. Nah. Let them decide who the king is, and let the king decide what happens to Jon Snow. And Jon Snow's going to this Night's Watch that doesn't exist anymore. Obviously it doesn't exist, because they showed at the end him, I guess, ruling over the wildlings and protecting them and being their leader, which I guess is not inherently a bad ending for Jon Snow, but they act like Grey Worm is just some idiot. Stupid. You think Grey Worm doesn't know? Like, they're trying to tell you that the writers, Dumb and Dumber, are trying to tell you that Grey Worm had no idea that there was no such thing as a Night's Watch anymore, that there was no reason for a Night's Watch to exist, so it wasn't really a punishment. Based off this picture, do you really think Jon's not going to rule over any lands and father any children? Man, what a really bad portrayal of minorities. They're just they're just stupid people that can't think on their own. That's what Dumb and Dumber are trying to tell us. Because Grey Worm is dumb as a rock. That's a fair punishment. A life sentence, and not even a prison sentence, because there are no White Walkers. The wildlings are obviously free. The wall is down. There's no need for a Night's Watch if the wildlings and the people in the north are not enemies. And there's no reason for them to cross the wall because there's no goddamn wall. I mean, there is, but it's A lot of it was destroyed. So there's no need for a Night's Watch. What? So stupid. So stupid. So Grey Worm is the dumbest character in the entire series for buying into that. And the writers are even dumber, Dumb and Dumber, or the dumbest, for trying to for even attempting to get the viewers to buy into this garbage. That this makes any sense at all. Wow. I think this is the worst series finale in the history of television. That's just the truth of the matter. Made no sense at all. It wasn't even bittersweet. Bittersweet ending. First of all, there was a lot of bitter, I guess. I don't even know, because after what Daenerys did, you didn't really feel bad that Daenerys got killed. And then the Unsullied and the Dothraki left without incident. What was the bitter part? Jon Snow gets sent to the Night's Watch. He seems to be doing pretty good for himself based off of this picture. He seems to be doing pretty well. So Jon Snow's doing good. Bran is the king? What? What? Like, I'm fine with someone else sitting on the throne that's not Jon or Daenerys. They should have made Gendry the damn king. He was Robert's son, for crying out loud. I almost forgot. I can't end this video without mentioning this. About that Tyrion speech. Or about the whole thing with them choosing the king. Oh, Sansa was saying, Bran, you're the king. He's literally a member of House Stark. And he is literally the son of Ned Stark. He's going to rule over the 6 kingdoms. And the North is going to be independent. The Queen in the North. The Queen in the North. Oh, that was awful. I think Sansa's ending was honestly one of the worst ones. Besides Arya just deciding, I'm going to leave Gendry and just sail west alone. Some little frail girl sailing west. Who knows what the hell there's going to be? Barbarians, werewolves. Who even knows what's west of Westeros? Realistically, she won't even make it to damn shore. Oh my god. It just makes no sense. This whole thing makes no sense. So I can't even say it was bittersweet. It just made no goddamn sense. And Bran can't father any children. Well, it's okay because the sons of kings, as we know, are you can't trust them to rule. Like, just because you are the son or the daughter of a ruler doesn't mean you should be the ruler. But then before then, they all laugh at Sam for suggesting that there should be a democracy. You get what I mean? Like, there is no logical flow at all. And I'm honestly, I sound like I'm having a good time, and I sound like I'm just having a laugh at all this, but deep down inside, I'm hurting. I'm really hurting. I'm honestly, the depression's honestly starting to kick in here. I just realized that the series is over. Like, I knew it was gonna end, but like when you realize that it's over, and this is the ending you get, it's just like, damn, you know what I mean? Like, that's it. That's 8 years, 9 years of us waiting, and for some people it's 23 years since the first Song of Ice and Fire book came out. I haven't made a single Game of Thrones video, but I had to make a video about this. Everyone else was jumping on the Game of Thrones sucks bandwagon, and every video I saw was just Game of Thrones sucks, Game of Thrones sucks. And I felt like I had nothing, but I just had to give my thoughts about this awful finale. Awful television, awful, my heart breaks. I feel so bad for all the actors, for the people who put so much hard work into the show, because there's no chance in hell that the majority of people, even half of the viewers, were satisfied by this season. That petition got 1 million signatures, and everyone knows they're not going to remake season 8, and I don't expect them to. I don't even want them to. But that was just awful. I I don't think any Emmy awards are gonna be won, because this was awful, awful, awful. And I feel so bad for the actors, but the writing and the scripting and the overall character development just meant nothing. Meant nothing. I hope D&D go nowhere near anything ever again. They're supposed to make a new Star Wars trilogy. Honestly, at this point, Star Wars is done. They can't make it any worse, so I don't care what they do with that. But and they're also working on a show where the Confederates win the Civil War. Go figure. They're not used to. Well, it's funny, but it's not funny. They're making a Confederate show, and I'm gonna end it on this point. It makes sense that D&D are making a show where the Confederacy wins, because they already have experience making black characters look terrible and just abusing black characters. So instead of the characters being abused figuratively, like what they did with Grey Worm, they're literally going to be whipped and tortured and everything. So that's going to be fun. I have no interest in watching that show, by the way. Anything that D&D produce. Them writing their own scripts, you see where that got you. Look at this crap. This is just straight up garbage. I think I'm done with this. I'm done recording. I'm done. All this time, just watching hours and hours and hours of this show. Rewatching seasons. Theorizing. Playing through the Telltale game. And just being enthralled in the world of Ice and Fire. Look where it got me. Look where it got me.